ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिर्वोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यस्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्र्यचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ verse 158 प्रश्नोत्तराभ्यामेवैतत् गम्यते अर्जुनकृष्णयोः अनिच्छापूर्वकं चास्ति प्रारब्धमिति तच्छृणु. So Vidyaranya comments upon the second line of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Kimichan kasya kamaya shariram anusanjvaret. So in that mantra, the first line is talks about the jnanam, the nature of Atma Jnanam. So, and then second line talks about a jnana phalam. So this is how that thing is. And right now, so we are talking about, discussing the second line, means we are talking about jnana phalam. And while talking about jnana phalam, the discussion on prarabdha etc. has come. So threefold prarabdha etc. Ichha prarabdham, aniccha prarabdham, parecha prarabdham. So because the answer was, because it's a jnana phalam. Jnana phalam, when we talking about a Jivan Mukta Purusha, then he should not have any desire. That's called Jivan Mukta. We said that. Then Vidyaranya said, well, he has desire. Jnani has a desire. And then, Purupakshi asked, why? How can he have had his desire? Well, through prarabdha, etc. So prarabdha generates two things. When you do karma, actually, the prarabdha is generated. Prarabdha is generated in twofold way. When you do karma. First thing, means because what is produced is prarabdha, means phala, karma phala. So, one is some kind of it's a karma phala, which this person is going to experience as a bhokta. And when you do karma again and again, it also produces that karma vasana. Karma produces karma phala, which he is going to experience as a prarabdha, so prarabdha phalam. And karma also produces a impression, vasana. That's called prarabdha vasana. So both the things are produced by karma. Produces vasana, produces phalam. So prarabdha phalam, prarabdha vasana. And prarabdha vasana will definitely affect the karta. Prarabdha phalam will affect the bhokta. So that's what we say. And then, how this prarabdha, so then he went into this topic of prarabdha, Vidyaranya. And so, ichha prarabdham, aniccha prarabdham, parecha prarabdham. And then first, definitely he has taken up for discussion ichha prarabdham in these verses, 153 to 157. We are on now just 157. Well, he says prarabdha karma influences, a life of a jiva. Prarabdha karma, alone influences, we don't say. But for human being, free will is there. So prarabdha karma is one of the important factor, and it is common for both Jnani and Ajnani. Since you have free will, definitely your free will also influences your life because you choose certain karma, and so prarabdha karma also influences a life of jiva. Of course, free will also influences a jiva. So free will, I mean, prarabdha karma is one of the important factor for both Jnani and Ajnani, which influences the life. So prarabdha karma vasana well influences karta aspect of jiva. Prarabdha karma phala influences the bhokta, that I said to you. Now Vidyaranya says this prarabdha vasana of a jnani will influence the karta in a jnani. Karta in a jnani means that badhita karta. Mithya jnani, karta is there, well, that is affected. It influences through what? It influences through desire. Vasana generates desire. So that prarabdha vasana is there, generates a desire in a jnani. So jnani has that ichha influenced by his prarabdha vasana. Because prarabdha vasana is there, generated from karma of the past, of this life and previous life. So all that storage of jnani also has, that generates a desire. Prarabdha vasana generates a desire. And therefore different jnanis have a different desire, because their vasanas, prarabdha vasanas, are different. And therefore we find that while some wants to teach, some doesn't want to teach, and some wants to do some loka sangraha, other jnanis do not want any loka sangraha. Well, and some build hospitals and chatralaya and some hospitals. Some teachers write, some jnanis write books, some establish matha, etc. So these prarabdha vasana are different because everyone has a different done a karma as a human being, depending upon their free will. So that has generated different types of karma, has generated different types of vasanas in different people. And they have gained jnana, they are all jnani. But since the prarabdha vasanas are different based on their karmas, based on their free will, therefore prarabdha vasana is different, therefore it generates a different types of desire in different jnanis. Understood? So this is how it is. And therefore, anyway, so through that ichha, well, this jnani also acts in the world, which we call ichha prarabdha. And while talking about this, Vidyaranya makes a statement that ichha and karma basically, which is influenced by prarabdha vasana. That is not just in jnani, in everybody's case. Basically, my desires and my karma definitely, which is influenced by my prarabdha vasana, and that is for jnani, it is same. So, and this definitely they are all governed by law of karma. And so Vidyaranya said, well, according to law of karma, whatever has to happen will happen. Ishvara also cannot make it otherwise. So then Purupakshi asked a question, because he made a statement in verse 154. Ishvarenapi varayitum na shakyate. Nacha atra etat varayitum ishvarenapi shakyate. Yata ishvare evaha Gitayam Arjunam Prati, etc. So Ishvara can definitely change the situation, etc. In anybody's case. So well, Vidyaranya says no. Even Ishvara cannot alter the event. So what is that? Question was, if Ishvara can, Ishvara if cannot alter the situation, then definitely how he is called a Sarva Shakti. At least, this within law of karma, everything is there, but Ishvara is a Sarva Shakti, so he can change. One who cannot have a cannot is Sarva Shakti, right? Cannot change. That kind of a thing cannot be there, right? In the case of Ishvara. And therefore, basically, one who cannot have a cannot is a Ishvara, Sarva Shakti. And therefore, Ishvaratvam hiyate. We feel, Purupakshi says, this when Ishvara cannot change alter the situation in anybody's life. It may be Jnani's life or our Ajnani's life. Ishvara can change the situation, event in anybody's life. If he cannot change, how will we call omnipotent? Well, then this omnipotence of the Lord is as the lost. Hiyate. Ishasya Ishwaratvam hiyate. Well, Vidyaranya says, no, 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 don't think like that. It's not a problem. Well, Ishasya Ishwaratam na hiyate. Omnipotence of the Lord is not affected. Even He won't alter the situation, etc. So he is telling, because avashyam bhavi bhavanam, I have already told to you, he says. So basically, this non-viability of the law of karma, etc., is there. So we don't say that Ishvara cannot change the situation. Ishvara won't change the situation. That, like, they say, they give an example of a judge. I think I gave you last time. That when he is hearing the case of a criminal, and a criminal has done some murder, suppose, and then now it's he has to give a judgment. The hearing was over, and now the sentence should be given to that person. And the criminal's mother comes, and he says, he's my only son, and this and that, and even criminal also tells that I am repenting this, that, etc., and this I done helplessly because this person was harassing me or my mother, and this something, all this. Now judge may get a compassion, definitely, when he cries and everything. So judge gets a compassion. Still, he is bound by the law of justice. His compassion is bound by the law of justice. So, and therefore, if suppose a judge, out of compassion, he has a power to give a judgment, well, different. But if the judge gives a judgment out of compassion, leaving aside this, the sense of justice, well, then that judge is called unjust. Clear? Judge is unjust. And therefore, his compassion also is governed by, a law of justice, etc. So same way, Bhagavan has also got a law of justice, but Bhagavan won't violate the law of justice because of his compassion. A compassionate God, if he violates a law of justice, he is unjust, and therefore that is not correct. So Bhagavan has a compassion also, but it is governed by Bhagavan's law of justice, and therefore he says avashyam bhavita api. So definition of law of karma is non-viability of law of karma. That itself is created by Ishvara. So non-violability of law of karma is created by Ishvara himself. Ishvarena eva nirmita, he says. And therefore, justice is governed by compassion. Compassion is governed by justice, law, sense of justice. And one cannot be violated by the other. And therefore, definitely Bhagavan requires compassion. Bhagavan has, omnipotence. Bhagavan has a sense of justice, and therefore Bhagavan won't alter the event, the prarabdha of a jnani or a jnani. He won't alter. Not that he can't alter, he won't alter. That's what he is telling. So, and then we said also, we should remember one aside point also. When we say Bhagavan can't alter a law of karma, etc., or prarabdha, then we should add, according to his fancy doesn't alter, definitely, but we should understand that, within the law of karma, Bhagavan has given a free will to alter the prarabdha of any person. Bhagavan has given free will to that person himself or herself to change the course of situation that he has given. That is within law of karma. Like, they give an example. Like a High Court has passed suppose this judge, I was giving an example. That judge has passed he said that sentence to that person, the criminal who has done some murder, right? Within the law of karma. But the same law of karma, tells that person to go to the Supreme Court, etc., and ask for a change in verdict. He can do that. That is also within law of justice. And therefore, According to his prarabdha vasana, if Jnani has done something or even a Agnani has done, well, and so this particular prarabdha phala will come, and that he can definitely change. Ishvara does not change, does not want to change, Ishvara won't change, but that he has given a capacity, he has given a free will to the person, to Agnani, Gnani both. Jnani won't change, that we'll talk to later. But Agnani's situation, Prarabdha, well, Ishvara won't change, but then he has given a free will to the person. And well, within the law of karma, he can do karma, which we call Agami karma, and he can change the situation. He can change. Yeah. So that is depending upon, of course, his relative strength. He can fight this prarabdha papam. Suppose a wrong situation, etc., a unfavorable situation. Well, the result can be challenged by the person himself. That kind of a capacity Ishvara has given. So, and that is not that is not a violation of law. It is always within the law. This, to change the situation, you can do karma, which we generally call as a parihara. Like something happened in my life. Suppose I'll give you another example. Something happens in my life and I get, suppose, some disease, etc., and I have to face that unfavorable situation, etc. I'm in painful situation. But then so many, doctors, etc., you consult many doctors and changing the medicines and undergo certain procedure, and that is all fine. Also, Shastra tells you to do certain karma, prayashchit karma, something we call parihara. So, and you can change that situation, which is painful situation, you can change. And so, that is the change means, that is, if it changes, it's all within law of karma. So therefore, if you do some yajna, etc., well, in order to get rid of that disease, etc., but the punyam which is generated by that yaga, etc., by that ritual, may not be sufficient to overcome the prarabdha papa. And therefore, that is all within law of karma. But the potential is given to you that you can change the situation. So Ishvara won't change the situation. Even he is a compassionate, he won't change the situation. But he has given the free will to the person himself to do some prayashchitam, to do parihara, to find some remedy while that is there. So anyway, this is what Ichha Prarabdham topic is. So if you want to change, you change the situation. Ichha Prarabdham topic ultimate is with 150 verse 157, that is over. And Vidyaranya has taken Agnani's case only, for example, to show what is the Ichha Prarabdham, etc. Ichha Prarabdham is desire, right? Desire which is born of what? Which is born of Prarabdha Vasana. Prarabdha Vasana is born of what? Vasana is born of what? Vasana is born of ultimately karma. But then why you are calling Prarabdha Vasana? Because this doing karma generates a karma phala, we call Prarabdha. So doing karma, it generates Vasana also, we say Prarabdha Vasana. That's it. So because Prarabdha Vasana we say. So anyway, so Prarabdha Vasana is generated, that leads to a desire. And then definitely that desire, due to the desire, he does some karma. And if he does a karma phala will come. So we call Ichha Prarabdham. That's why Ichha Prarabdham. I gave you example for a Jnani, right? And Jnani has a desire for eating some particular stuff. And then, he expresses his desire. And then he eats. And then it may give pleasure, it may not give pleasure, etc. So that is called Ichha Prarabdham. So that is why I don't want to give again and again the examples, but it is like that. Jnani expresses many desires, and then definitely he does something, and then he eats, and then it may generate a sukham or dukkham. Sometimes he does not express a desire of eating a particular thing. Others express a desire that Swami, you should eat this. And Swami says okay. And then he eats and may be generating pleasure or pain. That's a parecha prarabdha. Could you follow now? So that's and sometimes he also doesn't want, and others also, devotees also do not want. And still Gnani has to undergo pleasure. pleasure or pain. That is anicca prarabdha. Clear? Is it clear now? Anyway, so here we are talking about Ichha Prarabdham. That topic is over because we are going to ultimately say how Gnani has a desire, etc. etc. And so, well, because of the Prarabdha Vasana, he has a desire, we are saying, and still it is going to, we are going to have an encounter with this Purvapakshi after this 2-3 verses. Anyway, so he will modify a little. Prarabdha, I mean, Ichha Prarabdha is there, means definitely due to Prarabdha Vasana, but the desire is of a different nature in a Jnani's case and in a Jnani's case. That he is going to tell. Anyway, verse 158. That we read, of course, Prashnottarabhyam evaitat gamyate Arjuna Krishnayoho Anichha Purvakam Chasti Prarabdhamiti tat shrunu. So now, since the Ichha Prarabdham is over, now the topic is Anichha Prarabdham. That Prarabdha influences a Karta even when Karta does not want that situation. That's it. That's called Anichha Prarabdham. So Vidyaranya says, Prashna Uttarabhyam etad gamyate. By study of a question and answer that took place between Arjuna Krishna Yoho, that took place between Arjuna and Krishna, well, we can understand the Anicca Prarabdham topic. That's what he says. So Anicca Purvakam Prarabdham cha asti tat shrunu. So there is a Anicca Prarabdham, Anicca Purvakam, preceded by Anicca, preceded by not even desiring, still undergoes a Prarabdha, undergoes a experiences, pleasure, pain, etc. Well, that is there, and that topic, Tatshunu, that you listen to. And for that, Vidyaranya quotes a few verses from Bhagavad Gita, verse 159 onwards. Athakena prayuktoyam papam charati purushah anichanna vivarshneya baladiva niyojitah. So, in Bhagavad Gita, third chapter, verse 36. Verse 33 was that we discussed before. Prakritim sadrusham cheshtate swasyaha prakruter jnanavanapi. Verse number 155 is a verse number 33 of chapter 3. This is verse number 36 of chapter 3. So, well, Arjuna asked a question to Lord here. Hey Varshneya, one who is born in a Vrishnikula is called Varshneya. Lord was born in a Vrishni, lineage of Vrishni. So he is called Varshneya. Kena prayuktaha purushaha papam charati. Kena prayuktaha. Prayuktaha means pushed by what? Kena prayuktaha means pushed by what? Purushaha papam charati. A human being, a jiva, well, commits papam. Means what is that force by which person commits papam? So even though he doesn't want, anichchanabi, even he doesn't want, sometimes, we also see, sometimes we make a decision and we violate, even though we doesn't want, we do not want. So that happens. Means then other than my free will, there is some factor which governs my desire and compels me to do certain things. So that is how balat niyojitaha eva anichchanapi, even though I don't desire, sometime I decide and do something, I violate something. So balat niyojita, as though somebody, handles us as puppet, like that. And generally we say Bhagavan. Everyone says that. Bhagavan compelled me to do that. We are the puppets in the hand of the Ishvara. Like that, everyone says like that. Well, that's not the case. That's not the case. Bhagavan does not prompt. Bhagavan is just present. That's all. His job is to make active everything, all the senses and mind and everything. He does this. He illumines everything, make active everything. But he doesn't make us do also, he doesn't do also. That's the thing. That comes even in other context also, but we don't want to discuss as. In Upanishad says sadhu karma karayati, etc., etc. And navardate no karmana no kaniyan, etc. That portion, talks about that, as though Ishvara prompts a person to do certain thing. Well, that's not the case. Here, well, Vidyaranya says our prarabdha vasanas are responsible for for a karma, for a activity what we do. Even though that activity I really don't desire to do, but still as though I'm compelled to do, and that force is none other than prarabdha vasana. And so he's answering what is that force in the verse number 160, but I have given you the answer. कामेश क्रोध एषः रजो गुणसमुद्भवः महाशनो महापाप्मा विद्येन मिह वैरिणम्. This is verse number 37, just next to that. So he says, Bhagavan says, what Bhagavan is answering, what is that powerful force which compel you to do certain thing even though you don't desire? Well, he says, Kama Eshah, Krodha Eshah, Kama and Krodha, born of Rajoguna Samudbhavaha, born of Rajoguna. Well, he is compelled. Means, but my mind has all the three gunas. Why you are talking about Rajoguna? Because Rajoguna is predominant. But why Rajoguna is predominant? Well, it's because of a prarabdha vasana. So that that has come because of my purvajanma activity, etc. So, and they are what kind of this kama and krodha? They are mahashanaha. They are great consumers. Greed is responsible for all forms of corruption, and then that's a violence. And the other, second cause of the violence is mahapapma, the krodha also. Anger also leads to violence. So desire leads to greed, and then greed is a great consumer. It eats and eats and eats. And so mahashanaha is an adjective to kamaha. Mahapapma is an adjective to krodha. Krodha leads to also violence. So greed also leads to, ultimately, greed is a great consumer and that leads to violence. Even krodha also leads to violence. So mahapapma and krodha, mahashanaha. Ashanam means a eater. So ash dhatu is there, to eat, ashnati. And so maha ashanaha is a great eater, great consumer. That's how one who has a greed, he keeps on consuming throughout the life. Greed for money, greed for anything. Greed for power, greed for, name, fame, etc. He doesn't have any stoppage. Person keeps on and does varieties of the things. He violates also so many things in order to get that. Even though he has. So anyway, and both the enemies are where? They are sitting inside and making us puppet. So prarabdha, vasana is a vishesha karanam. Ishvara is a samanya karanam. Ishvara will be there naturally. Vishesha karanam is there, my internal enemies. Kamesha, Krodesha, born of that form, ultimately prarabdha vasana. So iha means in this janma, may you understand, these powerful vasanas are there which generates this kama, and then obstructed kama becomes krodha, etc. So ultimately prarabdha vasana, they are the shatrus. We say kama and krodha, but then they are generated from prarabdha vasana. So that is what is said here. And those powerful vasanas, defeats even the free will. Yeah, free will. Free will has a certain desire, and he has a certain plan also, but are not implemented because vasanas overwhelm this free will. And therefore, anichan, even though he doesn't desire, he is as though compelled to do that. So that force is none other than kama esha krodha. So kama krodha, but then they are generated from prarabdha vasana. So that's a force. So we also experience this kind of thing, that we desire something but we do something else. This is aniccha prarabdha. Aniccha prarabdha. But we do something is prarabdha. So that will bring a certain result, right? Suppose if you go by your desire and do karma, then you will, as a karma phala, the result will be different. But your desire is of one type, but you do something else which you have not desired, the result would be different naturally, because that you know this, if you do this, well, the result will be unfavorable. Therefore you desire something else, and well, you wanted to do accordingly, but it doesn't happen. Always it's a fight between prarabdha vasana and free will all the time. And I mean, when the person is young, well, will has a chance to win the war. But as as person becomes mature physically, then vasanas, naturally due to experiences, vasana becomes stronger and stronger, and then ultimately vasana wins over all activity. Vasana wins over the free will in a person who is physically mature. I mean, old age and etc. So we call habit. We say habit wins over your will. Same thing. It's same thing. Habit means this vasana. So anyway, so this is anicca prarabdha, which has been talked in 37th verse in the 3rd chapter in Bhagavad Gita. Now another Bhagavad Gita verse he quotes in 161, 18th chapter, 60th verse. Sabhavajena kaunteya nibaddhasvena karmana kartum nechasi yan mohat karishyasya vashopi tat. Kartum na ichhasi. Bhagavan says, Arjuna, your free will decides to go to forest and lead a simple life. You want that way. You wanted to lead a simple life, contemplative life, under the tree, on the bank of Ganges, etc. But well, you won't succeed because Swabhava Jaina. Because your Swabhava is a Rajoguna, Kshatriya Guna. And not only by birth you are Kshatriya. In fact, throughout till today, till the war, well, you were waiting for this day actually. And so, therefore you can't sit. Even he was in a forest, he did not contemplate on any day. In fact, he was thinking how to defeat this Kauravas. And so basically, even if you go to forest now and tries to sit and do contemplation, etc., that's not going to happen. You can't sit peacefully. You pick up even sadhus and fight for some other cause, Ramasitu or something. And so basically, kartum na ichhasi, svena karmana nibaddha. So svabhavajena kaunteya, he kaunteya, svabhavajena svena karmana nibaddha. So you are directed. Nibaddha means you are directed, you are influenced, you are goaded by your own karma, svena karmana, by your own karma, and which is swabhavajena, which is born of, which is determined by. Swabhavajena means by prarabdha vasana. Or your prarabdha vasana is determined by your swabhava called rajoguna. Let's say rajoguna pradhana. Either way, that will determine your karma, your activity. So you avashahapi karishyasi, you will helplessly perform one or other karma. You wanted to leave this war, so you wanted to exercise your free will, because and you wanted to do some other type of activity. I mean, leading a contemplative life, etc. But your sabhava, which is of a kshatriya, which is of a predominant rajoguna, your vasanas are like that, and therefore definitely those vasanas are predominant, they are stronger, and they will lead your activity in other direction which you don't want. So you will helplessly perform one or other karma, yet kartum na ichhasi, which activity you really try to avoid. You wanted to avoid this war, and you wanted to lead a contemplative life, but your vasanas will not allow you. Prarabdha vasanas, one of several janmas, one of this janma also for him. So Shastra's advice is always like this, that make your free will align with your vasana. Your choice of profession should be in alignment with your vasana. Not your profession should not be in alignment with what salary you get. Your profession should be in alignment with your vasanas. Well, then it is fine. I have a vasana of stealing, right? So, so I should choose a profession well based on my vasanas. You said, right? That should be alignment. So I should choose a profession of stealing. I should be a thief. I have vasanas of a thing. I like also that. Well, so we have to bring a third factor now. What is that third factor? Dharma. So free will, vasana, that is, they should have been in alignment. But then the third factor is it should align with dharma also. So here, Arjuna, you are good in warfare. Your vasanas also should be active accordingly. It should be your vasanas, I mean your activity of fight, etc. should be in alignment with your vasana, which is born of course, Rajoguna. Your Sabhava is that, Kshatriya Sabhava, and you should use those skills for protecting Dharma. So third thing, it should be in alignment with Dharma also. So, well, join army, right? So basically, etc. So this is Anicca Prarabdha. Anicca Prarabdha, well, basically means your will being strong, I mean your vasanas being stronger, they will govern your activity even if you don't want. Anicca Prarabdha. So some jnanis have even enough sattva even for jnanam, but then Rajoguna also is there higher within the limit of sattva. Well, they remain active. So jnani's dynamism is, well, of course it is a blessing for the society, naturally. You can understand Shankaracharyaji's activity. Well, being a jnani, he can sit in a forest, what? Everything is mithya ultimately. But no. So dynamic, I mean, and that was a blessing to the society. Other jnanis also may be there nowadays, not at all dynamic, sitting in one place and etc. etc. We don't know, of course. We know about these dynamic jnanis and who are really engaged in propagating dharma, propagating knowledge and everything in various ways. So definitely such active jnanis are there. That shows that Rajoguna is there. Of course, they have gained knowledge, etc. So sattva is predominant. And this Rajoguna which is there, which is within the boundaries of that sattva. Yeah, that's a different issue. Otherwise, if Rajoguna is predominant and overpowering sattva, etc., means this knowledge, etc., where is the knowledge then? That's not the case. And therefore, you will see that even though they are doing an activity, that's all lokasangraha, based on sattva, for the welfare of society, for upliftment of the society, upliftment of the dharma, and trying to protect this Vedic teaching, etc. All activity, when they build a Chhatralaya or build an ashramas, build temples, renovate the temples, consecration of temples, all activity, you will see that the shadow of sattva in all. That is called lokasangraha. That is called lokasangraha, in which you always find this. Anyway, so, but you see, jnanis are active means Rajoguna is there. Definitely is the prarabdha vasana. Because some are active, some are not active. But these jnanis, even before gaining jnanam, were so active. So that, that created the vasana of to be active all the time. So even after jnanam, they remain active. They remain active. And some jnanis are from the beginning itself, even before gaining knowledge, they remain aloof. They remain aloof. They don't like to interact much. They don't want to possess much. They don't do much obligatory duties. They don't keep much relationship. They don't do much transactions. And they gain jnanam. And well, because the port was less, right? Port was less before also. And now also port is reduced now. Well, they remain inactive. And some jnanis have every possessions also. I mean, possession means they build ashram, etc. that way. And obligatory duties, of course, from that standpoint, it is not. But then you will feel you will feel that they even to a smallest person, they will call, they will do a WhatsApp message, this, that, how is your health, they will try to arrange something. I have seen, we should not name everything, but then all these things are there. We find that even we they are they take care of even a smallest person. Even we don't bother, but at every level they relate. Every level they relate, and they have a lot of transactions in the world. My God, one day here, second day there, third day there, meeting a lot of people, this, that, so many conferences and these meetings and whatnot, and relation. My God, he has left after sannyasa. Well, he has left the family, etc. Means he is free from the this relationship. But then he relates to now a larger family. My God, everywhere, whether he is in India, US, or goes to somewhere else, we have seen those jnanis. So anyway, so this is that shows that such activities then are so born of the vasanas, prarabdha vasana. Even though he may say sometime, I don't think, but he may say, oh, there are so much of activity, etc. I want to sit at one place now. But he can't sit. I tell you, he just can't sit. You cannot confine him to one place. That's why. That's it. You cannot confine this jnani in a one place. Within no time, he goes to other place. He returns also, but again goes. So this is how it is. So this, anyway, this is anicca prarabdha. Anicca prarabdha. 162. Why anicca? Sometime he may say, I don't want this activity to, but his vasanas will compel him to do. Nothing against, but then it is like this. Okay, verse number 162 now. Nanichanto na chechantah paradakshinya sanyutah sukha dukkhe bhajanti etat parecha purva karmahi. So with the previous shloka, anicca prarabdha topic is over. 158 to 161. 153 to 157 is a ichha prarabdham. 158 to 161 is anicca prarabdham. And now in 162, only one verse, he talks about parecha prarabdham. Now, the change here is, a little difference here is, earlier while talking about ichha prarabdham and anicca prarabdham, he has given example of a ajnanis. And then he said you can extend it to jnanis also, because jnani also has a prarabdha, not from his standpoint, but from empirical standpoint, jnani also has a prarabdha. And how can you say jnani has a prarabdha? Hey, he's living. He's a jivan mukta. He's a living person. So prarabdha is there. People don't understand this kind of things. But it is very simple to understand that otherwise jivan mukti is not possible. If prarabdha also goes away with the jnanam, like agami and sanchita, then there is no jivan mukti at all. And if there is no jivan mukti, perhaps I may lose a charm, I am telling you, because you are not able to experience the freedom. And because suppose you gain a freedom, but then immediately prarabdha is over, the body goes away. So there is only Videha Mukti, then who is interested? Pujya Swamiji says, well, we are interested in Vedanta because Vedanta talks about a subject matter which is here and now. Or Vedanta talks about a goal which is here and now. That is the beauty. Anyway. So now parecha prarabdham in one shloka, but I said ichha prarabdham and aniccha prarabdham in both the cases, he talked about ajnanis. And you can extend it to jnani also, because prarabdha is common ultimately. Now here in parecha prarabdham he talks about jnani. So because you can understand Vidyaranya talked all this ichha prarabdham and ichha prarabdham through quoting Bhagavad Gita. And then Bhagavad Gita definitely, here those quotations which he has given, that is, he is talking to a ajnani there. Kamesha, Krodesha, Rajoguna, Samudbhava. What is that thing by which, what is that force which compels me to do which compels me or engages me in an activity which I don't want, etc. Is all there Ajnani's description. Anyway, but now here he takes a Jnani's life as an example for Parecha Prarabdha. So he says what? The Paradakshinya Sanyutaha, some Jnanis, well, Dakshinyam means a daya, compassion. And a Paradakshinyam, compassion to para means compassion to others. So, for some Jnanis, well, definitely, they, out of compassion for others, Sukha Dukkhe Bhajanti. So, when they do a compassion to others, well, they go through this powerful experience, Sukha Dukkhe Bhajanti, Prapnoti. So, Prapnuvanti. So, they gain experience which are of pleasure and pain by doing a Loka Sangraha Karma, let us say that. Out of compassion, they do Loka Sangraha Karma and undergo pleasure and pain. Right? Na icchantaha. Well, they don't desire, the pain. Na anichantaha. Even we can't say Jnani wanted to avoid also. We can't say Jnani asked for it also. Na icchantaha. So Jnanis do not ask for pleasure and pain. Jnanis even don't ask. I mean, Jnanis want. It's not that Jnani wanted to avoid it also, because Jnani is neutral with respect to experiences. So it's not that he wanted a certain experiences after doing a karmas for Lokasangra karma, and he doesn't want a particular type of experiences. He does not want to. He doesn't. He wants. It's not that he wants to avoid it also. Still, sukha dukkhe bhajanti. Well, he undergoes pleasure and pain, as in prarabdha. So, because of what? Parecha. Parecha purva karma. Parecha purva karma. Here, so they express through, here karma means a vasana. These vasanas of others get expressed. Others' needs, etc. well, get expressed. And therefore, well, definitely he undergoes pleasure and pain. Swamiji, can you give example? Simple example. Suppose some Swami is there, right? A Jnani. And he goes to some place. And then definitely he is a compassionate. So, well, the other person expresses that I want to do Pada Puja. Now, that could be experience for a Jnani either of pleasure or of pain. Could be. Some people, what they do in a Pada Puja, they do Prakshalanam, right? And they use they use milk sometimes. And the milk, which milk, directly brought from the refrigerator. They fill in some container and they immediately pour in the lake. Now, he may not, may not be conducive for that person, but he undergoes that. So that is a parecha. Because he knows that if I allow this person, well, out of devotion he's doing, and that would be benefiting to him with creating a punya, etc. And so out of compassion he allows, but then he has to undergo the experience of unfavorable experience he has to undergo. So that kind of a thing. This is called parecha prarabdha. So paradakshinya sanyutaha, well, they have a compassion for other people, but sukha dukkhe bhajanti. They will gain sukha or dukkha, even though they don't want naichantaha and na anichantaha. Not that they want to avoid it also. And not that they want to, they are looking for it, they are asking for it. So basically Jnani definitely he is, he doesn't want a particular experience to happen or not to happen, etc. But still he faces that's it kind of a situation, sukha dukkha. That's called parecha prarabdha. Anyway, and in verse 163, now he explains all, whatever he has explained, these three types of prarabdha. What is the relevance here? Why? So that he is bringing out. Verse 163. Katham tarhi kimichan ityeva michha nishityate necha nisheta kintu ichha bado bharjita bijavat. Katham tarhi kimichan. So, well, he has explained all these three prarabdhas, right? 153 to 157, 158 to 161, and in 162, right? These three ichha, aniccha, and parecha. Now, what is relevant here out of these three? Ichha prarabdha. Why? Because that is the topic here. Why? Kim icchan kasya kamaya shariram anusanjvaret. Because while talking about the phalam of this jnanam, well, it is told by this Brihadaranyaka mantra, Kim icchan kasya kamaya, desiring what? Like that. Means Jnani does not desire. And if Jnani does not desire, because he is a Jnani, Ajnanam generates a kama, and therefore Jnani should not have a desire, etc. But then what about this Ichha Prarabdha? Ichha Prarabdha means he has a desire, and that is born of, I said, born of these vasanas. And then what to talk? So why, I mean, Ichha Prarabdha, how it is possible? A desire in a Jnani. So that creates a problem. Brihadaranyaka Vakya negates Ichha, Kim icchan. So it's a akshepa. Akshepa means, well, desiring what? Means he doesn't desire at all. That's akshepa. And even many other places also. Prajahati, yada kaman, etc. etc. Yada sarve pramuchyante kama yasya ridishyataha. Right? Yada sarve pramuchyante kama asya jnaninaha. Well, those all the desires have left from his mind. Pramuchyante. They have gone. Anyway, so Jnani means definitely there should not be any desire. Then what about this Ichha Prarabdha? That's a question. So Vidyaranya raises a question and then now answers. That a student asks, Tarhi, if Jnani has a desire caused by this Prarabdha Vasana, you said Ichha Prarabdham, Katham Ichha Nishidyate? Well, how then the Shastra negates a desire in a Jnani? How does Shastra negates? Which Shastra? Brihadaranyaka mantra, Mundaka Upanishad mantra, then Sita Prajna section of Bhagavad Gita. All negate that there is no desire in a Jnani. Right? So, Ichha Nishidyate. Katham Ichha Nishidyate? Shastrena. So, if you said Ichha Prarabdha is there are desires in a Jnani, then why Shastra negates? Kim icchan, by this expression, Kim icchan iti. Well, then Vidyaranya gets a chance to introduce a new topic. You know, when we say Jnani does not have a desires, then we say you add some adjective in that. Which adjective should I add? Binding desires are not there. That's all it is. Non-binding desires are there. We discussed this even in chapter 6, verse number 262 also. Anyway, this is just a reference. So, icchanstu koti vastuni. Icchantu koti vastuni. So, all koti vastuni, thousands and thousands of desires are there in a Jnani. But all are moral desires. Ichha nishedaha na. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, that mantra, talking about the Jnana Phalam, talking about the Jivan Mukti of that person, does not negate desire. Ichha nishedaha na. They don't negate the desire. Ichha bada. This mantra negates, does not negate desire. It falsifies desire. Bada means falsification. That falsification of desire we term as non-binding desire. False snake will not bind the real rope. That's what it means. Why? Barjita bijavat. Well, it's like a roasted seed. Roasted seed. Roasted seed, well, exists. Sauf, and then sesamic seeds, and then flax seeds, and all seeds are there. So that can germinate. And give rise to plant, etc. But Barjita bijavat, that's how we roast. And then we use it for eating. Right? So Barjita bijavat, roasted seed is definitely useful, but it won't germinate into a plant. So every kama, every desire in a Jnani's mind, well, is a seed which does not germinate into next janma, etc., or does not germinate into punya papa, and that through that next janma. That's what Mundaka Upanishad mantra said. Kaman yah kamayate manyamanah sah kamabihi jayate tatra tatra. Kama means the desire, and well, kamabihi jayate. So kama yah kaman kamayate. One who desires varieties of the objects, worldly objects, sah kamayamanaha purushaha kamabihi, with the help of those kamas, with the help of those results of kama leads to karma, karma leads to punya papa. Well, jayate tatra tatra, he is born in various yonis. That thing will not occur because his karma does not generate, does not germinate what? Punya papa. And so definitely he has no kartrutvam, and therefore he's a non-binding desire, falsified desires. So ichha badha, natu ichha nishedha. So there will not be any desire in a jnani's mind. Well, that's not correct. There is a ichha badha, there is a falsified desire, which is already falsified. I mean, that's called non-binding desire. Which so jnani's, I mean, the desire is roasted in a jnani's mind by some fire, that is jnanagnis bhasmasat. Therefore, jnanagni, that is a fire of a knowledge. Well, definitely it won't germinate. That is the thing. Then verse 164, well, we will see. Let's look, I think, in a very small, shloka. Bharjitani tu bijani santyakaryakarani cha vidvadicha tatheshtavya asattva bodhanna karyakrita. Bharjitani bijani akaryakarani. Bharjitani. Well, the seeds which are roasted, they cannot germinate. Because basically the function, akaryakarani. So what is a function? What is the function of this bijam? Well, their primary function is to germinate into plant. That's a primary function. Same way, primary function of the kama is what? Perpetuation of the sansara cycle. Right? Taking birth, and one leaves the body till in between all experiences also. They are generated through karma, which is generated through kama. Anyway, so primary function of the kama also is a perpetuation of the samsara cycle. That is destroyed. Vidvat ichha, desire of a wise person. Well, what kind of ichha? Vidya bharjit ichha, which is roasted through the fire of knowledge. Tatha eshtavya, so should be considered in the same manner. Like bharjitani bijani akaryakaranani, while the roasted seeds don't germinate into the plant, same way, tatha eshtavya means you should consider in the same way the vidvat ichha, the kama in the mind of a vidwan, that is a jnani, is also like this, like a bharjita bija, which does not germinate into a next janma, etc. It does not perpetuate the samsara cycle. Na karyakrut means this vidvat ichha na karyakrut. It can't do its primary function. Why? Asattva bodhat. That's it. Asattva bodhat means what? Asattva means mithya. Bodhat means knowledge. Right? Because of the knowledge of the mithyatvam of the karta, because of the knowledge of the mithyatvam of the desire, well, it won't generate. What is asattvam? Cannot generate anything. Right? Asattvam cannot generate anything. If you understand it as asattvam, the snake which is asattvam, which is mithya, and you know it is mithya, does not generate samsara, fear. If you don't know it as a sattvam, know it as a sattvam, if you take it as a sattvam, real, it will germinate. That's what it is. Knowing it as a mithya well, no problem. That's how. Okay. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamādāya Purnamevāvashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Any question is there? Urmilaji, question? Okay, fine.
Hari Om Swamiji.